Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're back. My name is Talha Rafiq,
I'm Deen Muhammad.
and together we run The College Muslim. So, The College Muslim is a podcast all about growing up Muslim in America in high school and college and kind of just navigating the experiences that we've been through. And we kind of just talk about what we went through and what maybe some other people have been going through. And just kind of want to show you that you guys aren't completely alone in the different experiences that you're going through and that we're kind of all in this together.
Yep.
So, just a disclaimer before we start. As usual, we're not professionals. We're not like, we haven't studied.
Shiur.
We're not sheikh, and we haven't studied Islam through a very deep religious lens. So we're not trying to tell anyone how to live their life when it comes to Islam, and we're not also trying to tell you what's right and what's wrong. All we're here to do is talk about the experience of growing up in high school and college as a Muslim, and just kind of what we went through. So, with that, let's just get started. Today's topic comes back to our currently running theme, which is about Deen and Dunya.
Mhm.
And specifically, it's about how you can...
Balance your personal choices. So we make a lot of personal choices when we're going through life. Obviously, so for the last two episodes, we talked more about professional choices, career, money, things like that. This is more about personal choices. So friends, people you talk to, people you need to interact with for class projects,
Where you choose to go, where you choose to attend to,
exactly
on a daily basis, the personal choices you
especially
make.
being in college. We have a lot of social events, we have a lot of social stuff that goes on, and that's just part of college, part of high school too. So what kind of decisions do you make when you're going to certain events like that? That's our topic today.
All right. So to begin with, I guess we can start off. Let's start with high school.
Okay.
So we have high school, we have college, different types of personal choices.
I feel like high school is more limited in the sense as well. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, it's more limited because, obviously high school has events, but I guess my high school specifically didn't have a lot of big events. There's more I guess extracurricular events count too. So events I would have for extracurriculars and things, but the events that I did have for extracurriculars were less social. They were more professional too, because I usually held leadership positions in this, so I was more there to facilitate, set things up. So
those kind of led to social events too.
That's true.
Let's say football games, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so football games.
I never went to a football game, but
You never went to a football game?
Never went to a football.
Oh man. Okay. You better go to a football game in USC. Have you gone to one?
Not yet. Next year. Next year. Inshallah.
Okay. Inshallah. Yeah, especially with Lincoln, dude. Okay. So yeah. So say in high school we had football games, right?
Okay.
What happened after a football game? Party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or before that too.
Before were there parties before football games? Oh, tailgates, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So let's say there's a party after a football game.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a personal choice. That's something you can choose to go to or choose not to go to. It's in high school, it's something everyone else goes to.
Yeah.
Do you go to it?
We talked a lot about this peer pressure that we have in our first video with drinking. Our first video was about drinking and smoking or vaping.
It was about smoking, drinking, vaping.
Yeah,
all drugs, drug usage.
that whole realm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what our first video was. Go check it out. We have a couple more insights there. But I guess for now, we talk a lot about the peer pressure that we have because especially in high school, you are shaping your identity. You don't know. I didn't know who I was when I was in high school. Obviously I knew I was Muslim. I knew I had certain guidelines that I followed that my parents told me, but I myself cognizantly did not have an awareness of, oh, this is who I am. This is what I want the rest of next 40 years of my life to look like. This is what these are not the principles that I have that I want to live by yet. I was developing them slowly because I had I've been learning about Islam as a child, but I hadn't. I think this is something that I kind of want to highlight because something that's gonna happen. Something that's gonna be prevalent in a lot of our podcast is realizing that Islam has guidelines, and these are guidelines that you're taught as a child. And you talked about this in our last couple episodes ago, but you have these guidelines that Islam gives you, but then you also have to make that connection yourself with Islam and start forming those principles within yourself. So I think in high school, for me, I just didn't go to parties or things like that because I was just these aren't the principles that I have, but there's the guidelines that Islam has set upon me. So I can't go. My parents won't let me go. Things like that.
And that influenced your personal choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the guidelines are there to help us influence personal choices
when we're younger. Yeah.
When we're younger, right?
I think once we get older, we also realize that we don't. Not following those guidelines isn't gonna have as big of a fallout as in high school, because in college, your parents aren't with you for the most part. Your parents aren't with you. Maybe if you're commuter student or something, maybe then. Even then, you're spending a lot of time at school, at college, where not obviously Allah's eyes are always on you, but no other human beings' eyes are on you to be your guardian or be your so
To worry
be a
about
person.
every decision you're making.
To worry because you're 18.
Yeah.
Like you're an adult. Like no one's gonna stop you if you try to do something that's considered haram in Islam but legal in America.
Mm-hmm.
So realizing that is what we're gonna have to start making your own personal choices.
So how do we determine what, like, our personal? So we use the guidelines to influence and create these boundaries for ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. Like those guardrails for ourselves and what to stay in between. And then how do we determine, based on, like, because the biggest issue with personal choices is you're not always 100% sure what is right, what is wrong.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, peer pressure and influence is such a problem, is because it just takes that little nudge to either get you to get
Shaitan's always there, man.
Yeah,
just a little nudge
to get on the right side or on the wrong side of things. Like sometimes you just need a little nudge to get on the right side of things, right? Again, but also right and wrong, like it's not all black and white. That's the whole big issue with personal choices. Is they're not always black, but it's not always black and white. They're kind of like really confusing.
They're judgment calls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in high school, I guess, like, even for me, like, I guess personal choices were kind of predefined. So you can go here, you can do this, was set by my parents. You know, in Islam, the lines are pretty, like, high school choices are not as big of a choice. Yeah. Like there's
also the fallout that happens from the majority of the choices that you make in high school. People understand that you're still a kid. So
yeah.
If you mess up, like, the fallout isn't as big.
There's more safety nets. Yeah. Yeah. So that's, but as you get older, safety net starts disappearing, right?
How did you handle that? Like the transition from, obviously, like you said, in high school, you had your parents to watch you, to guard you. How did you transfer those, I guess, Islamic, like, I think this is a good terminology that being said. It's like Islamic guidelines and then personal principles. Like how did you make that transition?
Yeah. It happened by, like, not brute force. What's the right word for this? It happened by trial and error. So, like, it was, I thought all I knew in high school was all I knew. That was like, so everyone.
Don't we all?
Yeah, we all think we know it at high school. So I came into college, I acted the exact same way, but not because I didn't have the parents to influence my personal choices. Like, they are my parents, at least, and I can say, I would say quite a few parents are pretty good parents, right? So they influence their kids in the direction that will be best for their kids. Yeah. Okay. Once that disappears, you don't even think how much of an influence they had on you, and I didn't know how much of an influence they had on me. So when I got to college, I had to make my own personal choices on my own personal basis, but that transition was so rough because my personal choices then had more of a impact on who I was. Yeah, because my parents could not alter or change or help me out. Like, it's my personal choice to stay up until 4 a.m. if I want to. Yeah, my parents would tell me to go to bed at like 12 or 1 when I was at high school, because that's just, I was in their house. Yeah, exactly. Like, turn off the lights. Yeah, but in college, you can do whatever you want. And those personal choices can hurt you sometimes. For real. Like, when I did this joke about sleeping, right? Like, if you sleep too late, it's a problem. Like, you can't be going to sleep at 4 or 5 a.m. when you have an 8 a.m.
Literally,
class.
like, my whole first semester, like, you know this too. My whole first semester of college, I put, I mean, like you said, like, I think the first semester of college is when you realize, like, how much impact on your life your parents have. Yeah. Like you said, like, my parents telling me to go to bed at 12 or like whatever. Like, obviously, like, I stayed up in high school because, like, I had a lot of work, a lot of schoolwork and stuff, so my parents would let me stay up sometimes. But at the same time, like, they'd still, like, be telling me, like, go to sleep as soon as possible, go to sleep right now. Yeah. So things like that. But once you're in college, you realize that, like, I can stay up however the late I want. I can skip classes. I don't have, like, all these things, like, I can do, and there's no, like, even professors don't care if you show up to class. They don't. They really don't.
And once you wrap your head around that, your personal choices have even a bigger effect on you.
Exactly.
Because when I first started last semester, I didn't miss any classes because deep down inside, I had gone to every class up to this point. Yeah. So, so that transition,
I did that for the first, I think, like, the first 5 weeks I did that, and then I realized professors don't care. There is no attendance.
There's attendance. Yeah.
I log in on Blackboard. There's no attendance. There's nothing. So I was just like, oh, it's okay. I'll just skip this one lecture because I want to, like, catch up and whatever. And that turns into 2 lectures, 3 lectures.
And then you're on the weekend catching up until 5 a.m.
Exactly.
Right. So all that is like a great example of, like, how we have to make personal choices in Islam as well. So that's, like, all related to, like, school and work. And so
that stuff's not that related to, like, Islamic guidelines, but then we start transitioning into personal choices. Like, these are more like professional academic choices.
Right. So now personal choices. So the older you get, the more impact your own personal choices have on you. So in college, who you're hanging out with, right? Who you're letting influence you when it comes to religion. Like, who are you listening to about different things? We have halakas every Thursday, like, listening to Sheikh Jabril, for example. Like, that's a choice you have to make, a personal end to go and actually go listen to that, right?
To set aside that time to be like, I need this in my life. I need to set. I guess time is one place we can start. We talked about time last episode, but links back to this too. But setting aside the time to go to things that will influence that, like in college, you have a lot of time to spend that's your own, and there is no restriction on that time unless you put restrictions on it. So if you put the restriction to say, hey, I have to hang out with these people or this person or go to this talk at this time, I have to go to this halakha at this time, unless you block that out yourself and take that proactive movement of yourself to do that, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And again, so like coming into college, you have to make more of those decisions. And more of those decisions also related to faith. And so from my personal experience, like I didn't expect to have to make those decisions at first. Like when I came into college, I had no idea that I would have to tell myself to get up and pray. Does that make sense? Like I didn't have I didn't expect anyone to tell me like go to this like MSA, MSU event, go do this, go do that. Because there's no one to tell you that stuff. So your personal choices start being more personal. You have to make them on your own accord.
I like that. The personal choices become more personal.
Exactly. Like you don't realize like when you're younger, your personal choices aren't really your personal choices.
They're not your choices. Like
they're influenced.
You feel like you're making them and you're making them based off whatever your parents tell you. But once you get to college, like you said, personal choices are personal. Like you are making them of your own accord. Right.
And so I guess like for me, the biggest challenge was say even like telling myself to get up and pray. Right. So that was something on like religious.
When you've stayed up all night studying and then 5:30 alarm rings or 6 o'clock alarm rings. And
wake up at Fajr.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to like, okay, so let's like break down personal choice now. Okay. All right. So we're in college. We have to make personal choices to better our faith and religion.
Let's start with
how do you balance those personal choices with the rest of your stuff? So I think that's what we can really focus on is this balancing game. So we kind of define like, okay, what is personal choice and what kind of personal choices we have to make, but how do you balance personal choice with the rest of the stuff, with the professional, with like the fun stuff, with everything? How do you balance it? Like,
I think first of all, just realizing like I guess for me, like I always had Islamic guidelines, like we said in high school. That transition over to when I need to set my own principles that dictated my personal choice. I think that's something that you have to be cognizant of is once you enter college, your personal choices are based and are solely dictated by whatever you believe in, whatever you want to put yourself in, and whatever you want the rest of your life to look like based on the principles that you set for yourself. And for me, that came out a lot of. I messed up a lot in high school. Like I'll say that. I'm not gonna say exactly how I messed up, but I'll say like we all mess up. We all have our moments. So messing up in high school helped me to realize what do I want my life to look like? What do I want to believe? What do I want to do with the rest of my life that not outside of just like that's what this whole episode is about. It's outside of just professionally. Like, yes, I want to have good grades. I want to get good extracurriculars, all that. But outside of that, like, what do I believe in? How much do I care about Islam and the guidelines that Islam puts on me? How much respect do I give to that? So I can use that to dictate my personal choices. Like, what kind of friends do I have? What kind of stuff do I talk about? How much do I cuss? Things like that too.
Yeah. That's actually a great point. Like you use your surroundings, you evaluate it, and then you help that influence what kind of personal choices you're making. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of. I think more of just. I think okay. So like I said, like I was always taught Islamic guidelines. Like, oh yeah, you should do this. This is right. This is wrong. Halal, haram, all that. And then once you come into college, I feel like the first semester of college, you're just passively looking. It's like looking through a glass. It's like being in an aquarium. You see all these other people, all these older kids, all these sophomores, juniors, seniors, like what they're doing with their life. You see other organizations, how they act, and you're just looking. But I feel like as the glass breaks really fast. Like there comes a point, I think the first like 2 or 3 weeks, you're like, oh, it's introductory week. You don't actually like need to commit to anything. You don't have to commit to hang out with anybody. Everyone's just kind of free flowy. I think a lot of college YouTubers talk about this too when they give advice. It's like the first 2 weeks of class, everyone's just really open. Like you don't have to commit to any one person as being your friend or as being like someone you hang out with. Yeah. But as soon as that glass breaks, as soon as like the first like 3-4 weeks set in, you need to start making decisions like, is this someone that I want to associate with? Is it someone that I want in my life? And that is going to have to come back to Islam. It's going to have to come back to what kind of people do I want to surround myself with? How
did you use Islam to like dictate like this was something I had to like figure out was how to use Islam to make personal choices on who I hang out with. Yeah. So particularly like mean, feel free to share as much as you want,
Yeah.
and I'll share what I want on this as well.
Yeah.
But how did you make those personal choices of the individuals? Because I think that's you can make personal choices on different things.
Yeah.
But let's talk about how you made personal choices about which individuals you're going to surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Because that's something like a lot of even our followers like have asked, like how easy. That's something our podcast is about. Like, who do you choose to like surround yourself with? I can start if you want.
Actually, you start. This is. I mean, I feel like for both of us, it's gonna be pretty heavy, just because people are people. People are growing and they're learning, and you don't want to cut out
like,
anyone.
We ourselves
are
made
growing our
mistakes.
learning.
Yeah.
We're making mistakes and we're going through life, but to say that like this is someone I don't want to hang out with, especially when they're Muslim, that makes it so hard. You go ahead. I'll take some time to gather my thoughts.
The one thing I always come back to is intention, because I feel like intention is the most.
Nia is the foundation of Islam.
It's the foundation of everything. Really, Islam, everything. It's intention is the most important thing. And so when I think who we're deciding to hang out with and who we're deciding to like spend our time with, when it comes, at least in college, you have to look at a person's intention. And the reason you look there is not because is their intention good or bad. The reason I want you to look at their intention is, do they even have one? Oh. So college students are really, 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 really bad.
I know we're getting at this.
At having intentions. That's my baseline. Because like the thing I've come to realize is, I know so many people, and their intentions are very like, I can't tell what they are. They're very like I don't know what they are. Like there is nothing to qualify.
And I feel like sometimes it's like you feel like you don't know what they are, but on the other side of it, they don't even know what their intentions are.
That's the thing. People are lost. People are trying to figure themselves out. Which is fair.
And which is totally fine, because college is the time when you're supposed to figure yourself out.
Yeah.
It just makes it hard on everyone, like every individual,
when they're who you want to be with. So that's something that like, so the way I use Islam to navigate that is, so let's categorize it. I have friends who are not Muslim. Okay. So the friends who I have who are Muslim, I use Islam as a like baseline. That is what brings me to them most of the time, at least to begin with. I say some of them you develop a bigger relationship on, like for example, me and you, you develop a relationship on top of just having Islam as a baseline. Yeah. But you know, having a brother, like for guys, brothers, and for girls, sisters, like who are in the same like circles or that kind of stuff, and you know, like a Muslim student union and all that kind of thing. That is a baseline, and you can use Islam, and you know, everyone has the intention to better themselves in the Deen on that matter as something you can make a personal choice on. So use those things to make the personal choice that I want to hang out with these Muslims because they use that as their baseline. As long as they're working on their Deen, be that if they're at a different spot than you, ahead, farther, below, it's not really like a line. It's more like wherever you are on the spectrum. Like
it's all nebula of just like people have different like if you think of like a chart, like people are going on their journey.
But as long as as long as we categorize a galaxy as Islam, anywhere in that galaxy,
as long as you believe like la ilaha illallah is like the baseline.
Like, so anyone on that baseline, that is one way I use Islam to find out who I wanna.
I like that.
Then the way is, how do I use my personal way? My personal way. We rephrase that is with religion and deciding who I want to be friends with outside of Islam. And religion again comes back. My main reason is an intention thing. So even the friends who I have who aren't Muslim, who are my close friends, who I surround myself with, I know their intention. I know what they're trying to do when it comes to their career, when it comes to their impact on the world, what's important to them, how they treat their mom and dad. Like a lot of these things.
That's deep. You know all this stuff about your friends?
I say when it comes to like friends who are not your close friends, not Muslim, like close friends. No.
Gotcha. I was like, is it like a database and you're just searching up on?
No, close friends.
Okay.
And I say like people exaggerate friends too. Like that's true. Like the word friend means a little bit, but I think if you think about it,
it's become so loose as we've gone on.
If you want to change terms with it, go ahead. But I think a majority of college students with each other, they're more like acquaintances. Yeah. Like you don't have enough time to be best friends with everyone. It's just not reasonable. Like if you think you are, then you must not be doing school.
And I think that's also something that we all have to deal with. Like even Muslim or non-Muslim, that's something you have to deal with and understand that like when you go into college, and this is something that I had so much trouble dealing with the first semester of even now, like the first semester and even now, is that you can't be friends with everyone.
It's impossible.
Even in as small of a community as an MSA or MSU, you can't. As much as like I think that's what I was trying to do for a whole first semester. I was trying to get to know everyone. I want to know like where you're from, what do you do, what's your life goal, all this stuff. Like I wanted to know just because like I guess my personality is that I just whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm a people pleaser. So I like to have people like me, and I like to like get to know people. And when you come into college, there's just a realization that you have to have is that not everyone, I mean, not everyone's gonna be friends with you. Everyone might like respect you, but not everyone's gonna like you.
Like acquaintances are great.
Yeah.
Like you can say hi to those guys every single day. You
Yeah,
can
you can say
respect
salam
them.
to the brothers.
So
yeah.
that's where I think also
And
becomes like
sisters,
how do
that you know. Yeah.
So the personal choices that you make when it comes to like those acquaintances is what do people put out in the world?
Mm.
You should be friends with people who put good out into the world, and that's my baseline for that.
How do you deal with taking out the time to, because especially with non-Muslims, it's something that I've had trouble with, is like with Muslims, like I can, like I know like for at least 80%, like they don't they don't do 80% of the stuff that I wouldn't want to do, but with
Yeah.
non-Muslims, like you never know.
Oh, lifestyle choices, you mean?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
literally, like okay, so story time. The first day I got to, so like I was supposed to be a commuter student, I crashed my car on the first day, and then I moved in on the second day of classes, and my roommates, they were really nice. They took me I went to dinner with them and met the rest of their friends that they met over welcome week. I thought, okay, these guys seem like really chill, respectable people. They're all engineers.
They are chill, respectable people, right?
Yeah. They are chill, respectable people. But like I thought, like okay, like that they seem as the exact same as like I would see any other Muslim person to be. And they're great people. I still hang out with them, but I think realizing like so there's something that they do in their lives that I would never do with my life. And
Sure.
it took me so long to figure that out. And by the time I put in such a big time investment that I don't know, this might be a bad thing. This might be a bad thing to think. And I definitely think like this is something that I need to work on myself, but also realizing like I put in so much time that was wasted, even when
Yeah.
it's not really a waste of time. You're getting to know
Fair.
people.
Fair. Yeah. So my personal story on that is being friends with people who may party, right? I don't
Yeah.
party personally.
Exactly.
Okay. USC is a big party school. And so some of these parties aren't just parties, like they go past a party. Like
Exactly.
it becomes a lot more. Like I've seen police called on stuff. I've seen like
Bro, I hear sirens
had-
every night.
yeah, we had the whole like the Sigma
Nu?
fraternity.
Yeah.
Right? Like that fraternity, like what was it? Like alleged rape
Yeah,
or
sexual
sexual
assault,
assault, right?
yeah.
Sexual assault. So like why would I want to go to a place that's a part of that? Why would
Yeah.
right? So the question is like, how do you stay friends with people who go to that stuff, and why should you stay friends with that? So like when it comes to my personal choices about the people I hang out with, I don't hang out and choose to be friends with people who are immersed in that world.
Yeah.
That's the first decision. So if
Yeah.
you're immersed in that world, if that's something you do continuously,
Yeah.
if that's the first thing
If
you
that
put
is your personality,
then I'm okay.
Yeah.
Then hands off. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm not cool with that.
Yeah.
My bad. But most people, that is just a part of who they are.
Hmm.
And with those people, you look at so intention is based on things you do.
Yeah.
So what is it that they're actually doing on a daily basis? I know someone from my engineering class who's literally seems to be their intention, as far as I know. Intention is literally to go out into the world every single day and make somebody else smile by being overly exaggeratingly happy.
Oh, nice.
And I love it. Like I'm like, that's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
Like that's not like a if
It's a
they
great
see this,
mindset.
if they see this, I'm not like dissing you. I'm saying that the happiness and exaggeration of that stuff, like that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's great. If that's your intention, or your intention is impact focused, like I'm very impact focused, like do
Yeah.
things for like homeless and education and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you're focused on, and then you just happen to go out on Saturday nights and do that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right there and then, me and you're not gonna be best buddies for life.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not gonna be
Yeah.
my best man. Like if we have a best man at weddings or whatever, like if I was to have
Yeah.
an American wedding, like
Yeah.
that's what you would not be that
Yeah.
person. But what I will tell you is the stuff you are working on, you're focused on. Me and you have a commonality.
Yeah.
So everything comes back to commonalities. Why am I friends with the Muslim people in the first place? Is because we have a
Mhm.
commonality. So the Islamic commonality is just a very like large galaxy, and it's
Yeah.
good to put yourself in there because a lot of things get covered inside the Islamic commonality. But I feel like when it comes to personal choices of who you hang out with,
Mhm.
you can have the commonality of like whether it be school related, or whether it be like you're both engineers, or you both like helping teach younger children
Yeah.
to educate them on
Mhm.
tutor, for example.
Mhm.
You can find and make those personal choices and be with those people even if other things don't line up.
Yeah.
And you just have to look at their intention then with what they are, what is their personality, what is the
Yeah.
intention of the stuff in their personality. The rest of the stuff is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Mhm.
and how he chooses to guide them.
Yeah.
And how he chooses to guide us. But you shouldn't be closing your back and turning your back to people, because that defeats the purpose of us becoming like role models.
Also, just like being Muslim just doesn't mean that you're Muslim within your community and then you just like
Yeah.
cut everyone off. Like embodying Islam means that you embody it in front of non-Muslims to show them that this is who I am. And like
Yeah.
you said, like you can hang out with people like who may be doing haram things because they are not Muslim, but at the same time, like that doesn't mean, just because you hang out with them doesn't mean that you're going to let them be like you said, like the best man.
You can
Yeah.
and you can choose what you put out
Yeah.
to set examples.
Exactly.
Like, remember when I said like we're viewing religion as a religion?
Yeah.
Like rather than we should be viewing religion as just like I am Muslim, like this is an
Yeah.
embodiment of who I am.
Yeah.
If you're able to do that and be with people who aren't Muslim, then first of all, that's amazing on you because that's a very hard thing to do. But
Yeah.
you become the example of a Muslim.
I also think that's something that me, you, and every Muslim out there needs to be cognizant about is that like, I feel like we focus too much, especially when we're making personal choices of like in the MSU, in the MSA or whatever, whichever acronym your school uses. Like we might be really Muslim, but then to please other people outside of that, sometimes people will drop their Islam. Like I know, like obviously, like things like Alhamdulillah or Inshallah. Like I'll say this thing in the MSU, but obviously, like maybe it's rightfully so, maybe it's not. But when I'm with my non-Muslims, I won't say that. But I think, but other than that, but even just like acting like not going certain places, being like, hey, I can't just go there, I can't say that, or or like refusing to like. I think cussing is a big thing. I feel like
we can talk about cussing.
Yeah, I honestly I kind of want to talk about it too because I feel like it's something that I've tried to work on too. Because like there's especially like when depending on the people that you're hanging out with, there's certain thresholds that'll be there. But I feel like I have to cognitively make the effort every time to be like, I won't cuss regardless of if someone else is okay with it because I just don't cuss.
I agree with you, and it's harder depending on who
and you
you're
slip
around.
up sometimes too, yeah, because it's like it's the culture that we live in.
It's who you're around, right?
Yeah.
So like, I played football, lacrosse, and soccer in high school.
Yeah.
I was playing in sports year round, and in sports, you like cussing is normal,
especially like when you mess up or something. Like
sure,
I played volleyball. Like when I missed a ball or something like that.
Yeah,
like
cussing is normal. Like it's something that you do.
Yeah.
But then when I'm with my Muslim friends, my brain on that side is turned off.
Yeah.
So like, getting into college and stopping, like I don't play those sports competitively anymore. I realized, oh man, like I was actually saying some things I shouldn't have been saying.
Yeah.
And now, because I'm around like the MSU and MSA so much, I don't cuss nearly as much. But that's where it becomes important of like staying cognizant of just because you make a choice to be friends with these people does not mean you have to alter yourself to become their friend. Yeah. So like if you have to change yourself for who your friends are, you have to change your intentions and even
like outside of Islam, even the non-Muslims like they spread this message like you need to be yourself and you shouldn't change yourself to appease other people.
Like this is not an Islamic concept solely. Like this is like this is something that everyone talks about on a daily basis. Do not change yourself for others. Exactly. Right. So, but from an Islamic perspective, do not change your Islam for others either. So so
being Muslim should be the first thing of who you are, and it's not something that like you just check the box. It's something that you strive for every day, and it's something that sometimes you might not do so well. Like I can personally attest to this. Like some days I just like when I'm hanging out with non-Muslim people, I forget that like there's something that I can't do, and then when those things arise, then I'll remember it. Yeah. But
or there's things that you should be doing and you don't do it.
Exactly. Right. Just working every day on realizing like I am first and foremost Muslim. Everything else that I do in this world is secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's learning how to have that bleed in happen. Okay, so that's another thing is how do you let that bleed in? That everything I do is as a Muslim, and then everything else bleeds in. Yeah. Now, coming back to the whole thing of viewing religion as a religion, one way to do that is by passing all your decisions through Islam, and then acting on it. Right? Yeah. The way I would prefer, like the way I want my life to be, is where I can just act on it, and I already know that it passed through that like Islamic lens. So I think that's what I'm striving for. And when it comes to like this whole like the topic of this video is personal choices, right? So when it comes to making personal choices, I would want the ideal life where I can just think about something and I know it passed and came through this like Islamic. Make sure it came through the right decisions. I don't have to pass it through.
I've definitely met a couple of people who are just like that. They just have so much tawakkul that like whatever actions they're committing, they realize like this is just who I am. So whatever action I'm doing, like I've already like passed it through my mind. And whether they say yes or no to it, like. You can tell that.
And those are the personal choices that you can live with. Yeah. Right? Like you won't regret those because you know that they pass through those things. But not everyone's there. I'm not there. Yeah. So I have to pass it through. Like I have to question myself. Like, okay, is my intention correct? Is this correct? Is that correct? Which is fair. Like you should be doing that stuff anyways. But yeah, so the personal choice of like who you're hanging out with and what you're doing, like for me, it always comes back to like the intention. And it always comes back to why am I choosing to put myself there? Why am I choosing to be these friends? And if I'm going to put myself there and who I'm friends with, what is their or that place's intention as well? Like, what is it meant to be a conduit of? Yeah. So if I'm going to if my intention is to go to a club, what is the what is a club? Like,
Yeah.
like I'm talking like downtown clubs, like
Yeah.
LA clubs. What is a conduit for? It's nothing Islamic. I can promise you that. Like,
It's something good, honestly.
it's
just
it's like it takes your money. You end up coming home drunk.
yeah.
You might commit some act that should not be committed.
Yeah.
So if a place isn't no conduit for that, then why would I make the personal choice to go there?
Exactly.
But if there's a place that is a conduit for good, let's say a food drive.
Yeah.
I'm only saying that because I have a food drive this Sunday. If we have a food drive that is a conduit for good, why should you stop yourself from going and doing good?
Yeah.
Right? Or let's say like even going to the mosque for Jummah, which
Yeah.
is from a Islamic perspective, you should be going because everything that's gonna hopefully that you leave there with, inshallah, is going to be better for your life.
Yeah.
So
I like that, like framing, putting everything every action that you decide to take through a reference of intention. I feel like intention is really important. It's something that we often forget, especially because like our world moves so fast these days.
Yeah.
Like everything just happens so fast. Like people will text you, hey, like let's go this place, let's go that place, and you have to make those decisions in like a split second.
Yeah.
But taking the time to realize, why am I going here? Why am I doing this? Why do I hang out with this person? Is it for a good reason or is it for a bad reason? Is it for no reason at all? Am I just wasting my time? Taking the time to be cognizant of your intentions is just really important. And I think also that comes down to even hang out with people who are Muslim. Like sometimes like you said, like people are in different paths, are in different points of their journey with Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come to college, you realize that like just how diverse that pool really is, and how diverse that journey really is. And sometimes there'll be things that you don't want to do that other people will do, and even within a Muslim community. And obviously, like we have no right to judge anybody, but like for your own personal choice, like once again, personal choice, like how do you stop yourself from going to certain places, especially when the other person is a Muslim and you want to be friends with them, but you yourself wouldn't want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most difficult decisions that I've had to make throughout college. And obviously, once again, it comes back to putting my own principles above making other people happy.
Yeah, and doing that in a very short time span.
Yeah.
Because again, you said everything's fast.
Everything's so fast, bro.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it makes you forget to question.
Exactly.
Actually. Like I think about it now. Like I've been asked to like let's go to the beach or something, or let's go somewhere, right? Something I did really bad last semester was I would just say yes.
Same.
I wouldn't think.
Same.
And I'd be like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, wait a minute. Forget the work and forget the stuff. Do I actually want to go and like do this? Like question mark?
Yeah.
Right? Like, did I even ask myself what is the intention of me going? Is it just for fun? Is it because I could get to connect with people? Whatever.
Once again, we'll come back to the whole fact that like, especially in the first few semesters of college, you're so you
kind of jump on the train.
I don't want to use the word needy, but you're needy for people's affirmation, just to like be with other people. And it obviously comes from the isolation of just being away from home.
And it's new.
And it's
like,
new.
It's new. Like I'm not expecting anyone to like know how to navigate college.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like the point of this podcast is, this podcast would not exist if everyone knew how to navigate.
Yeah. If we knew how to navigate college, this podcast would not be.
Yeah, it would not exist. Like I would not be talking about my experience because the experience would not be unique. Everyone would be knowing exactly what's right.
Exactly.
But everyone's experience is different. Like the experiences that we go through.
Yeah. I can definitely attest to the fact that like, especially in my first semester of college, saying yes, and I feel like also I watched a lot of like college YouTubers over.
Sorry, last one thing. So saying yes is yes and no is a choice. So when we're talking about personal choices, well, we're talking about when you say yes and when you say no.
Yeah.
So saying yes is a personal choice, and so like learning how to say yes or learning how to say no to this stuff.
Say no.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of like non-Muslim college YouTubers will say that like saying yes is harder because I feel like for non-Muslims, like obviously like their threshold of what they can do is different, so they'll say no a lot more. But being Muslim, I feel like
and they'll only say no a lot more because you don't have the time to do everything.
Yeah.
So they'll say like you have to learn how to say yes because or no, it's different. It's a different situation. For us, we have to learn how to say no to things that we know we can't do.
Yeah. And that's a very hard thing because especially like in college, especially the first semester of college, you'll feel a lot of pressure that I felt this pressure. I felt the pressure that like if I don't say yes to this now, that this opportunity is never going to come up again. These people are just going to desert me.
Disappear. Yeah. No, seriously. Like, what happens if... Okay, so my problem... Okay, dude. Great point. Yeah. When I came to college, my biggest problem was like, how am I going to make friends? I can't go to parties.
Yeah.
So I got to say no there. I can't do this stuff. So for the first 2 weeks when everyone's socializing, where am I going to go?
Exactly.
Right? I can't go to the club. I can't go drink. I can't go smoke. I can't go vape. I can't go to the hookah lounge. Like, I'm not going to let myself do that.
Yeah.
But so where do I go? And so I said yes to every single MSU MSA event.
Not even MSU, MSA, but just like when people would just be
Or
like, "Hey,
people just want to
you
hang
want to
out.
go?" Like, I'm down. I'm down.
And
I'm
the thing
down
is-
became the motto of my life for that first semester.
Yeah, and it was with people. So the people had good intentions.
They had good intentions.
And that's why you said I'm down and yes to the people who had good intentions.
Yeah.
The thing was, because you made that personal choice to constantly be outside and put yourself out there,
Yeah.
that still takes an impact on you.
Yeah.
Like where you're choosing to go, how much you're choosing to hang out. Like in college, that's a big problem is like how long are you out? Like people don't spend enough time in their apartments, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So like,
no, honestly, the person that I made a big shift from like last semester to this semester where I've just like, I spend a lot more time in my apartment. Like you said, like I've been home a lot more, and it's made me realize like how much I did spend time out. And I would say that, I'm just going to like the prayer room to study. And then after that would turn into like, hey, do you want to go this place? Do you want to go that place? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I just say I'm down because I felt like if I didn't say I'm down at that point, that these people would never ask me to do anything ever again. And honestly, I'm low-key feeling it that way this semester too. But I've learned to realize that like that feeling is complete like non-existent.
People will always, you will find new people.
You will.
The same people will invite you again.
That
like, you're
feeling
in the
is
same circles.
it's a complete placebo. Like the feeling that you feel like, hey, like, oh, maybe like people are phasing me out. Like no one's phasing you out. It's just you're taking more time for yourself, and that's not a bad thing.
And we think when that's
yeah,
so right, dude. Like college students think when they're alone, like it's a problem. And
I feel like we think it's a problem because either before college we've been with our family, so we felt people around us. First semester of college, like as much as like we'll try to like tell you all to like chill out your first semester of college, everyone's gonna go through it. Everyone's gonna go through a phase of life where you're just like, I'm down.
You have to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, but then I feel like the hard part comes the second semester of college when you decide to phase yourself out to take time for yourself, and then you start feeling, hey, I'm alone, so maybe I'm a loner now. I have no friends.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to realize like, no, it's not. It's just college isn't just about the people. There's also academics. There's also Islam. There's also for Salah. Things like that. Like those things take time, and not being with people and being alone isn't a bad thing. Like you said.
This is a non-Islamic ideology as well, where it says learn to be alone. Yeah. You have to learn how to love yourself alone. Yeah. Or you have to learn how to be alone before you can be with someone else. Yeah. Like the reason those ideologies exist is because you do have to kind of learn how to be alone. Like
being alone is important.
Yeah. In high school, you kind of had everything gauged out. You knew I would be alone for this amount of time. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to be at school for this amount of time. Yeah. I will be with my sports friends this amount of time. Everything you knew what was coming. Yeah. In college, when you're alone, you don't really know how long you'll be alone for. Exactly. And that's the issue. Is like you don't know how long you'll be alone for, and that freaks people out because they feel like they'll be alone forever.
The suspense that our mind takes. I feel like the human mind, it loves it when it can predict what's coming. Yeah. And in college, you can never predict what's coming. And I feel like
in the real world, you really can't.
You really can't predict what's coming. So being alone, learning how to be alone in college will set you up for success for the rest of your life. Yeah. Because in the rest of your life, like there will be times when you're just alone, and that's learning to be comfortable being alone. I feel like it's a big life skill that I'm trying to work on for myself. I'm still having trouble with it because like I don't hang out with people as much as I did last semester, and I'm starting to feel a little bit lonely because I'm like, do I just like?
But did that change your personal choices? Like
it does. Alone? It definitely does. Yeah. I feel like now that I'm alone more often, I'm willing to be more alone more often. It's helping me. It's because like the more I lean into it, the more I'm like, I'm okay. It's not that bad.
Yeah, and your personal choices start coming more from you. Yeah. Because when you're alone, you only have...
I'm alone with my thoughts.
You're alone with your thoughts. Like your choices then are then yours. And when you get a text, then you realize what you're comparing against is you being alone. Exactly. And so that's something to compare it against as well.
Honestly, like it's done wonders to like it's my faith to just my Deen, because I like last semester I memorized a couple of surahs just because like I was leading Salah, so I wanted to like
know a couple surahs.
Yeah, know a couple surahs. This semester, now that I'm alone, I'm not just doing it because I'm leading Salah. I'm doing it because I want to. And that, as like you said, like it comes from being alone with your thoughts. When you're alone with your thoughts, and it's something that's talked a lot about in like psychology, humanities too. When a person is alone with their thoughts, they're able to think deeper on those thoughts. Versus when you're with people, the stimuli that you're taking from other people, the stimuli that's coming from like outside, that takes up space in your mind, and that prevents you from thinking deeper into your thoughts. Like I'll have so many thoughts in a day, and some of these thoughts, like they will literally shape my life. But if I don't give them the due time to just think about them and be like, why do I read Quran? Why do I do my Salah? Like the khushu that we talked about, like the sincerity that comes with Salah, that's a personal thought. And if you don't give that thought its time to like ruminate and develop, and that only comes from being alone.
Yeah. So when you're alone, you become more cognizant of
Exactly.
everything that you're actually thinking and wanting to do,
Yeah,
and you get to clear up your intentions behind it as well.
for real.
So, yeah.
SubhanAllah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. How much time has passed?
No idea.
No idea. I feel like we've gone over the limit.
Really?
It's 7:40. Yeah.
Is
Okay.
that an hour?
Has it been an hour? I don't know if we should end this one here. This one was kind of long, but okay.
Yeah.
I think there's one more thing I want to address before
Okay,
we
yeah.
go on.
Then go ahead, you can cut that it. Yeah.
Yeah. The last thing I want to address, before we end this video,
Mhm.
is so tying. Okay, first of all, I was not really expecting that. Like, I now see how important it is to be alone
Yeah.
and take a step back in college and kind of slow down so you can actually garner your thoughts, and that will help influence your personal decisions
For real.
and your personal choices. But okay, so when it comes to like who you choose to hang out with or where you choose to go or what you choose to do, those are all personal choices.
Mhm.
And we talked about how you can view those through an Islamic lens. We talked about how you can view those from a logical perspective.
Yeah.
How did you kind of realize that you needed to like take the time? Like okay, were you feeling a drain of energy? Did you realize your personal choices weren't your own anymore? Like, I can tell you my perspective. Like, the reason I was like, okay, I need to reevaluate where my personal choices are coming from is because I realized my choices weren't mine anymore. Like, it comes back to the whole thing of saying yes. Like, I was saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
But what that ended up being was anyone else's proposal took precedence over my own mindset.
Gotcha.
And that's what really degraded me.
Yeah.
So even if I do the same things now, at least when I'm doing them, I know
You made that choice.
made that choice.
Yeah.
Right. And so let's say there is a week where I decide to do more outside of my apartment, like stay outside more than I was home. At least it was my personal choice.
Yeah.
So the next morning I don't wake up being like, oh my God, why did I do that?
Oh, honestly, you're right. Now that I think about it, there are so many days where last semester I just woke up and I'm just like, why did I do that again?
Yeah.
Did I need to do that? I'm so tired this morning.
Should I have really gone out?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen for me anymore.
It doesn't. Same.
Like, when I do it, I'm like, this is like a proper balance. This is the balance.
I woke up really late yesterday, but that was just because like I was working and I realized that like I made that choice to work that late. I made that choice to like stay after Isha and just talk to my friends, and I felt fine. Like this morning, I didn't feel like why did I wake up so late? I wasted so much time.
Yeah. Like the other day, it was my birthday and a friend's birthday, and it was the first time in the last 4 weeks that I decided to go out and stay that late. But it was my choice.
Yeah.
I didn't let anyone influence me.
And then I'm sure when you woke up this morning, you were like, I'm fine.
Yeah, well, last morning. But yeah, when I woke up last morning,
Okay,
I was
gotcha.
like, okay, I woke up later today. I knew I was going to wake up late, but it was my choice. I didn't let anyone else influence me. Like, I decided, okay, this is when I realized, like, I only made the decision 30 minutes before because up till that point, I was like, I can't go because my personal choice was not to go because there were a couple things that were going on. Once I made that personal decision about, okay, now I am going to decide to go, it was my choice to go, and I did not feel bad about it after. So, well, thank you.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, that was great. But yeah. But that's what I think is like that was my personal turning point.
Gotcha.
So what about you? What was like, what was the reason you were like? Because I think something that all college students can take from this who watch it, or even high school students, is realizing what feeling they have that is indicating them to reevaluate personal choices.
Well, for me, it wasn't a feeling; it was my grades.
It was your grades?
It was my grades.
Oh man. Oh
my
man.
Grades.
Were they not so hot?
No, my grades last semester were not good, and I mean, part of that was because I was obviously spending way too much time out, and I mean, to be honest though, I wasn't spending like it was still balanced. It wasn't that bad, but I started the semester behind, and just everything just accumulated, and a lot of different factors. But this semester, I told myself I'd focus more on myself, and I thought I initially thought that would just mean I'm just going to spend more time studying, but I'll still hang out with people. I'll still like, go out and do stuff that I was doing last semester. But I feel like once I started taking more time for myself, I realized I like taking time for myself.
And it's like what you're doing with that time out too.
Exactly.
Because you just said at first you thought it would be more studying.
Yeah.
And then less of that. But it might not just be that. It might be the same balance. It's just what you're choosing to do.
The same amount of studying I was doing last semester, I'm still doing now. But I feel like the time I take to just be in my apartment, do my dishes, do my laundry. So now I'll literally just like, I'll pop my headphones in, play some Quran. I'll just like walk around my apartment just doing random chores. Like I'll like reorganize stuff. I'll do my dishes. I'll like do my laundry. And those moments, usually last semester I would spend those going out. So I'm not spending that time studying. Like the time I'm spending studying is still the same. But the time I'm spending doing things myself, alone, for myself, that reframes the lens through which I look at every other thing I do in my life.
That's amazing.
Because now I look at everything I'm doing in my life as I'm doing this for myself. Versus last semester, I'm like, I'm doing this so other people will be friends with me.
Yeah.
It's a harrowing thing to like think about, but honestly, the realization that I made this semester has helped me so much. Now when I'm studying, I'm like, I'm studying for myself. When I hang out with other people, I'm doing this for my own mental health, for my own pleasure, for my own joy. That's how it is.
Well, I'm glad we both went through that at some point. We're still going through it. Like
we definitely are. I'm definitely still. I still get those bouts of just like loneliness when I'm just alone. I'm just like, do I not have friends? Like,
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes
I literally haven't gone out in the last like 3 weeks. I'm just feeling like, do I not have friends?
Sure.
And it's just like, no, I do have friends. I'm taking time for myself. That's not a bad thing. That's a great thing.
Yeah. And you can figure that out over time.
Yeah.
Like it'll clear up as well. So.
It definitely takes time.
Yeah. And the only reason I asked that question, like why we talked about this one, was because I want people to realize that there are indications and there are hints as to when you should probably reevaluate your personal choices.
Allah will give you some, like once we come back to like the whole test thing.
Yeah.
Like bad things happen to you, obviously like for many reasons. One of those reasons maybe because of like certain of your own actions, but another thing could just be Allah is giving you a chance to reevaluate and rethink and think about why did this happen, and not in the sense of like, oh, why did Allah make this happen, more like
this is an indicator.
What about my life in the past few months, years, weeks has caused this instance, and how can I use this instance to fuel the rest of my life going forward? And it's going to be different for every single person. Like there's nothing I can say that's going to encompass everyone's misfortune, but certain misfortunes happen to you, like the misfortune of my grade. Those things happen, and for things like that, for things like bad grades, you can use that to reframe the rest of your life, and it's worked wonders for me. And inshallah, if this helps any of you all out, it'll work wonders for you.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, we talked about a lot, man, but alhamdulillah.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I like that.
I like that too.
Okay.
Jazakallah khair, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So